Broadcasting live from the Business RadioX studios in Phoenix, Arizona, it's time for Phoenix Business Radio, spotlighting the city's best businesses and the people who lead them.
Welcome to Arizona Good Business Radio, featuring leaders in the Arizona business community, working to build a lasting impact throughout our state through doing good business. I'm your host, Thomas Barr, Vice President at Local First Arizona. We are a statewide organization advocating for and celebrating locally owned businesses, and we're the largest local business coalition in North America, providing resources to over 3,000 small businesses and raising awareness of the benefits of building a strong local economy. Today, I'm excited to introduce everyone to Kak Varley, the Chief Digital Marketing Officer of his company. So, Kak, welcome to the show.
How are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. Thank you for having me.
Fantastic. So, Kak, let's hear a little bit about you and what you do. Digital Marketing Officer, what does that mean? What's your company? Who do you serve in the community?
Right. So I primarily am a marketing consultant primarily, but we're also an agency as well. And the reason why I say that is because I really want to be in tune with a customer's business first and foremost, even before I start doing work for them, right? Every business is different and requires a different approach, right? I don't think I've ever done something twice the same way for customers. But to answer your question about the kind of businesses, it's anywhere from solopreneurs, small businesses, mid-sized businesses, and on up. So yes, I have the way I've modeled my business is to be able to cover all those angles.
Sure. And have you always been an entrepreneur, or did you work for a company before and transition to starting your own company thinking you definitely could do it better? Or what was your journey to launching the business?
Well, how far do you want this journey to go?
Let's go back. When did you get started in digital marketing?
Well, if you really look at it really started when I was a sales guy, because I've been doing sales now for 30 plus years. Mm-hmm. And during that time of sales is when I got the hook on being an entrepreneur, because a buddy of mine wanted to start a business with me. And that at the time was a printing business here in Phoenix. And how I got into digital is because I was handling everything that wasn't involving the actual office. So my partner was handling all the employment and doing the work and deliveries and things of this nature. I was doing everything outside of that, which is finance and sales and marketing, right? And that was right during the time that Google was just coming out, right? We're talking about a transition period from when as a business, you'd be primarily in the yellow pages, right?
Yeah.
And then, but this Google thing was coming around, and when I saw it, I just knew that was going to be the future. I mean, it made sense to me because as a business owner, right? If I went to the yellow pages, unless I, created a special number, there was nothing there that told me, what was happening with it.
Yeah.
How many people were looking at me on that page? How many people made that call? You look at the Google ad structure back in those days, and it was, how many people saw your ad, how many people clicked on your ad, and then furthermore, you could take it a step further and go, how many people converted into a customer? And by the way, it was cents on the dollar in terms of expense. So I was like, this is the future, man. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can't. The traditional marketing of like putting yourself into a magazine, it's like it's not trackable. It's still valid. Don't get me wrong. I'm not denouncing that. I mean, that could definitely be a part of the portfolio. But one thing I was mainly concerned about is just reporting. What am I getting for my dollar? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's where it started, right? And then at one point, I had gotten laid off from my sales job. They had ended up selling their companies to another company, and they basically got rid of everybody except for the software engineers. At that point, I had some friends that were in the digital marketing space, and I called them up and I said, "Hey, do you know anybody that's looking for salespeople?" And he goes, "Well, I'll tell you what, we are. Why don't you work with us?" And they were an agency,
Mhm.
So I started working for them. I worked for them quite a few years, good handful of years. And then I kind of looked at their business, learned about their business. And there was a few things that I don't think they were getting right, which was the sales side of that business. I mean, they were geniuses in terms of understanding how all the buttons worked, but on a sales level, they just didn't get it. And sales involves customer service, right?
Right.
And so I said, this isn't working out because I'm bringing in friends. These some of these people are my friends that I'm bringing into the business, right?
Yeah.
And because they lacked on the sales side of the fence in terms of customer service, really appealing to the goals of the customers and things of that nature, I was losing that business, which were my friends,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
Which is quite embarrassing, right?
Sure.
Yeah, right. And so I said, you know what? Let's just cut this out. And I said, and at that time, my wife, she was my girlfriend at the time.
Yeah.
And I said, I don't know. I don't know if I can do this anymore, this digital marketing stuff, And she goes, you know what you really want to do? You know how you really want to do it? Just go for it.
Yeah.
Make it happen. Stop screwing around with this other stuff, And I
Mm-hmm.
said, yeah, okay. And I did it. And I based my business on a foundation of what I call ethics, right? Foundation of ethics. Lo and behold, people liked it. And all of a sudden, yeah.
What a funny
And
concept.
right, it's a funny concept, right? And it worked. And I'm to this day, as I sit here, like this week, Tom, I mean, I must have had 5 different people come up, I'm getting referrals like crazy
Yeah.
because I'm basing my business not on just acquisition, right? Which is where the previous agency was at. It was all about acquisition, but they didn't really pay attention to the retention side of their business.
Yeah.
And so I flipped that around in my model. I said, I'm going to concentrate on retention more than acquisition. Because, we all get, especially in the sales game, we all get caught up in the idea that, we got to bring them in, man. We got to bring them in.
Yeah. Get as many wins as you can. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, nobody's qualifying those people to see if it's a fit for your business and so on and so forth. And what ends up happening, it ends up falling on its face later on,
Right.
and you can't keep those clients. I've reversed that model, and since then, I just keeps on coming in. I'm at a state. I have what I call HQP, high quality problems right now.
Good problems to have, right?
Right.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I love that. That's I mean, I'm glad we're having this conversation. It's such a tie-in to why we started putting on the show is having conversation with people that are prioritizing ethics in business, doing good business, and treating people well. And I feel like the more we talk about this and the more businesses that we share their stories, it influences other companies to think twice about how they're operating and influences more people to be more ethical too. If I think back, and I don't know what year it was that you were analyzing, Google's rise, but digital marketing then and digital marketing now is two very different things. I imagine as somebody on the receiving side of those digital marketing efforts. What do you love about it now that's evolved over the last, let's say, 20 years or so?
Well, number one is the innovation. I mean, you can every single day there's something new coming out. I mean, I've got, I literally have to have a budget dedicated to buying products just to test them out to see what's going on in the marketplace.
Mm,
Like a portion of my budget has to go to that.
wow.
Otherwise, I can't be a good consultant,
Right.
right? I have to be able to vet out whether that's going to be a good solution or not, or if it's just hogwash, or if it's really going to be worthy for my clients. And then, of course, I take that to my business. I actually use it for my business first. I'll take all the hits in the head in the nose, right?
Yeah.
Before I bring it to my clients. And sometimes those tools just they're not that great, or they're very what I call silver bulletish, right? Just like, oh, you can do this one thing with it. But unfortunately, digital marketing and the way I approach it is much more holistic. I look at it as an orchestration of things that are going on.
Sure.
The other thing I love about it is I love, because of my sales background, I'm just naturally a sales guy. I love chasing those results. I mean, I get so I get so jazzed about it, getting results for the client, whatever that result is, right? It could be just getting business. It could be, bringing people into webinars. It could be getting downloads for guides, whatever that goal
Just
is for that
helping
client.
people, right? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
So those are really the two things: innovation and I can totally understand, especially in the innovation side. I can totally understand why small businesses, they just don't have time to keep up with stuff, because I'm dealing with it every day, man,
Right.
and it's changing all the time.
Right.
There's always something new going on, and you almost have to back up and go, okay, what's this look like in the real world? Yeah, you can push that button, and this may or may not happen. But that thing that could happen, is that really valuable to the business?
Mm-hmm.
You got to kind of look at things that way.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that would be the third thing, is just really looking at things comprehensively for clients. That's another thing I really get a jazz. Is that right? Get a jazz out of? That doesn't sound right.
I mean, hey, if it sounds right to you, it sounds good to me.
Yeah,
I was
I'll just
gonna
make stuff up. I'm like, you ever see that movie I Love You, Man, where he just starts making up nicknames for?
right. Man, you could say anything and people will nod their heads and go with it.
Right.
So
Yeah, I'll make up a new phrase.
right.
Yeah.
So of some of that innovation, what are some of the cool trends, tools, software, whatever it is? Obviously, every business is a little different, needs different things. I can imagine you manage and help businesses in a variety of industries. But what is maybe a really cool tool or something innovative that's come out recently that you've been able to utilize for a company?
I'm testing tools right now. There's like these webinar tools, like these evergreen webinar tools you can use. They've been around for a long time. There's a new one out there called
Hmm.
expertise.tv that I'm kind of experimenting with right now. I'm not quite sure about it yet. I haven't tested it myself. It's interesting that you asked that question, because I have tools that I use, and it's funny because I don't think they're incredibly new to the marketplace, but how I use them is the difference.
Interesting.
And I'll give you an example. For some of my clients, they're B2B. By the way, I deal with some of the hardest stuff you could ever deal with in digital marketing, right?
Yeah.
If I deal with customers that are nationally focused, sometimes globally focused,
Mhm.
that is so hard to do, especially if you want to talk about SEO and things of that nature. That is not easy
Mm.
to get traffic and this and that and the other, right? Unless you're doing ads, and even then, you got to do it right?
Yeah.
And then I do services a lot of the times, which is also a harder play. It's harder than selling products online. So services on a national, I do some of the hardest stuff out there.
Yeah.
So anyways, in that, I have a solution for some of my customers, not all of them, but some of them, that is I call LinkedIn for Sales, right? So it's basically LinkedIn management. Now, again, this is nothing that's new to the marketplace, but this has been going on. You and I see it every day.
Mhm.
When people come to us in our LinkedIn, they go, "Hey, I want to connect with you," or "LinkedIn's told me to connect with you," or "You seem to have some similar things that I got going on. Would you like to connect?"
Yeah.
And then they do the pitch, right?
Yeah.
The very next message, which is they're trying to sell you something, right?
Yep.
I call that the connect and pitch. Now, the tools in which they use to do that are nothing new. There's nothing special going on. That have been around for, I mean, I guess they are quite new in the past year or two.
Mhm.
But for me, it's nothing new. If somebody on this was a listener and is in the digital marketing space, they'd go, "Yeah, that's nothing new." Maybe for a small business owner, maybe it is something new for them because they just don't deal with that. I
Sure.
get it. So going back to the approach that I use, because we were talking about the connect and pitch, right? So I solved that problem because I looked at things again, like on almost like a behavioral level, and I brought myself back to the sales place. So if I came up to you, Tom, and I went to shake your hand, we shook hands, and I said, buy this from me right now. You'd probably look at me like I'm an idiot, right?
Depends how hard you're
Who is this
squeezing
guy?
my hand.
Exactly.
Buy this right now. No.
Right. But that's what's going on LinkedIn, right? That's the connect and pitch.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so I solved that problem. So what I do is I do advertising on the front side of it to bring people in through a company page, right? And when people follow that company page,
Mm.
right, that's now a warm lead. That's showing intent that they have interest
Sure.
in what you're doing, right?
Sure.
And by the way, that advertising is great. The way I do advertising on LinkedIn is great because I can test audiences. I can actually test messaging as well. And let me tell you, by doing that kind of testing, I've discovered so many things I didn't see. I'll give you an example. I can tell you a number of clients, especially in that solopreneur space. I can't tell you how many of them come to me and say, "My audience is CEOs," and I go, "All right, well, let's see how that goes," and I'll test that out. And I had a client, for instance, it's a great story because he was just like that. And we ran some ads to CEOs on LinkedIn. Wasn't really getting any bites. Then I opened it up and I said, let's do CXOs, right? Just the whole C suite. Boom. CFOs. CFOs wanted to hear what he had going on. Then I said, for what this guy does, I remember back from my software days, it was actually the product management group that were calling out this type of offer.
Right.
So then I ran a test on product management. Bam. It was just like he was getting follows like crazy. And it's just stuff like that that's like, and I was like, hey, look, it's not CEOs that are really interested in what you got going on. So far, it's CFOs and product management. And we found out, we kept on going, right? Started going to marketing groups, started going to the sales group. All of a sudden, sales blew up. Sales wanted to hear what he had to say. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So anyways, you get these people in. Now they have an intent. So they're warm. They're not cold. It's not a cold connection. So then you make the connection through a tool that I use, right? And there's a handful of them out there. And then what I do is I solve the pitch problem by not pitching. And this might be a little tip for those folks out there that are on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
You can get free tools like Drift and SendSpark. Those are neat because you can do free videos, right? So imagine I do a connection with you, Tom, right? And you accept my connection. And the next message I send you is a thank you message. It's in video. Hey, thanks for following me. Thanks for connecting me. I really appreciate it. And I'll take a look at your profile and I'll learn more about you. Simple. What is that? 10 seconds?
Right. And
those tools are free. So I'll say that again for people. Drift, SendSpark. I like SendSpark lately because it's a lot easier to use. And those are free. And what you do is you do those and it provides you a link and you can throw that link into your LinkedIn messaging. And when it shows up on your side, Tom, when you get that message is a GIF of me talking with the play button. Hit the play button, there I am speaking to you.
That's cool.
People love that because now you're bringing the human quotient into the situation. But then I keep on going, right? Because in this tool, I can do things like endorse skills. I can view profiles, right? And I do all that stuff to gain rapport. And that's the key. Gain rapport. And I don't offer anything until I do about 3 to 4 steps of gaining rapport. And then I might offer something of value for free. Like, I don't know, could be a guide. It could be, I got a customer that does webinars, right? So he does free webinars. So hey, join us for this leadership webinar we have cooking on March 16th or something like that, right? And that's how I approach that. So again, the tools aren't necessarily new, but the approach is new.
Yeah, that's cool.
I hope I didn't exhaust you on that answer, man.
No, I'm just running through all these scenarios in my mind because I'm a huge advocate for every business to be on LinkedIn as an individual, right? And we actually offer and I lead a training for small businesses on how to use LinkedIn effectively. Because a lot of times I run into small business owners that might feel like it's not the platform for them, or they're just on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. But I mean, there's nothing greater than building your professional network to do business. To me, it doesn't matter what you're selling or what you're doing or who you're serving. And a lot of the feedback I get is, oh, I can't stand LinkedIn. I just get pitched all the time. And, all these salespeople. I feel like if the number of positive interactions through new people you're connecting with advanced, that analysis of it might be a little different. But I'm always joking with some colleagues about those messages that you get that are completely just immediate pitches or whatever. And I mean, do they ever work? I would argue they probably never do. And so the approach that you're taking makes a lot more sense because I mean, everything you said, it's the approach, the interest is there potentially, right? It's warmer. How do you build those leads and connections online with people? And so that's just really cool to hear because I'm seeing this every single day with even just my own personal interactions with others online. So it's really cool to hear. Wanna ask you, I was reading your bio, saw in the past you were a musician, warehouse worker, is that right too?
Yeah, I've done all kinds of stuff. Yeah, go ahead.
What type of musician are you or were you? What type of instruments did you play?
Well, mainly guitar. I'm a
Okay.
songwriter, mainly guitar. I wish I had my guitars in the back. I should have set that up. I should have set it up right in front of my guitar. So
That would be cool.
I have two guitars in my dining room that are hung up, and then I've got like 10 guitars in my master bedroom that are all hung up. But yeah,
Love it.
yeah.
And I ask because I actually find that a lot of entrepreneurs are musicians and that I feel like there's something to do with being able to play with other people or write your own music or make things up, right? That translates very, very fluidly to entrepreneurship. The ability to just kind of go with the flow, adapt to others, working with others in the environment of playing in a band. I wonder if you feel the same way or have had a similar experience.
Well, I'm going to throw you for a loop, and then I'll answer your question.
Okay.
Right? Uh, technology people tend to be music people,
Hmm.
past music people, right? Or frustrated music people, if you will, right?
Yeah.
So I look at that in two ways, right? What you're basically tapping into is the creativity side. Art is creativity, and yeah, people that are tend to be artists of any sort usually have creativity, and that allows them to, I guess, have the initiative to do things,
Mhm.
right? Which is initiative has got to be the number one quality in an
Right.
entrepreneur, because otherwise you'd just be sitting at home doing nothing.
Right.
That's kind of like a qualifier for an entrepreneur in my perspective, anyway. And so that and but on the other side, we have to realize that particularly music is just math.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of the brain too, right?
Right.
Counting is math, right? And that's why that's why I believe that there's a lot of technology people that love music that come from music, right?
Hmm.
So because it's almost like a right brain, left brain type thing, and it's different audiences sprouting from there, right?
Yeah.
Now, what I loved about playing music is that it actually helped me out in the business world, right? Because not only because of what we just talked about, but you got to keep in mind, here I am, singer, guitar player, songwriter, and I've got to get up in front of a whole bunch of people and hope they like what I got cooking,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
It takes a certain amount of bravery to do that. I think the only thing harder, really honestly, and I've never done it, I don't know if I'd ever have the guts to do it, is be a comedian.
I was going
Because
to say the
now,
same thing. Stand-up comedy. Yep.
oh my God, because you don't have like two, three, four other people that you can back up to and get if your string breaks or something like
Right.
that.
Right.
If you're not making people laugh, it's not going to go well.
I've always said the absolute best public speakers are stand-up comedians. They have so much material built into their brains. Every night they go out and could completely fail. And just like you're saying, the bravery in that, to be able to just throw your ideas and heart and content out to people that you have no idea if they're going to think you're funny or not. The practice that goes into it. I actually get so much training for my own speaking, whether that's on a podcast like this here or speaking in front of people from comedians, because I feel like they have it down. They know how to make you feel a certain way. I get so much from that.
Right. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. And it's funny because I love music. It's still a big part of me, and I love listening to music podcasts, you
Mm.
know. And it's funny because there's a guy named Dean Del Rey that is a comedian now. He used to be a musician, but he's a comedian now. But he brings in a lot of musicians to interview him. And it's funny because almost all those musicians, because he'll bring up comedy at some point. He'll always ask, you know, you like comedy? And it's funny, about half the discussions end up in the musician saying, man, what you do has got to be the hardest thing to do, you know?
Yeah.
And yet, and it's funny because people would look at a musician and go, man,
Right.
what you do has got to be the hardest thing to do.
Right.
You know?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Kak, kind of wrapping us up and getting close to wrapping up here. If there are small businesses out there that might be interested in getting in touch with you, working with you, what should they be thinking about before picking up the phone and giving you a call or reaching out to you and your team to see if it might be a fit to work together?
Well, that's a good one because in my business, and that's a good question because oftentimes people come to me and go, what kind of businesses do you work with? You know, what size businesses?
Mm.
You know, and I go, that's not how it works, actually. My qualifications outside of your normal, do you have budget, right?
Mm.
Are two other things. Are they coachable? Meaning, are they willing to learn? Because you have to be willing to learn and if you want to get into this digital marketing stuff. The second thing is, are you willing to execute when you need to? Because again, I'm not on an island over here.
Yeah.
You know, I need participation from the customer as well. And when I need things, I need them to deliver those things for me to do my job. So I would just say, if you got an open mind, you're willing to learn and you're willing to execute on some things, we're good.
Great.
You know, that's really what it comes down to. I don't focus on any specific industry. Even when you get into a specific industry, every business can still be different,
Sure.
right? They can have different goals. I'm all over the place when it comes to industry or, you know, size of company and such like that. It's all over the board. And personally, I kind of like it that way because I get to learn so much. And the more I learn about every single type of business, the more I can bring to the table.
Yeah, I can imagine so. So if you are a business in that situation, coachable and ready to execute, how can people get in touch with you?
They can go to kakvarley.com. That's KAK, V as in Victor, ARLEY.com.
I love it. I bet you didn't have to fight for that URL.
No, it's pretty funny, right? Because I remember somebody saying, it was an old friend of mine, and I called him because I hadn't talked to him in a very long time. I said, I don't know if you remember. I don't know why I even said that, but I don't know if you remember. This is Kak Varley. He goes, dude, seriously? You're like a brand. And that's when I decided to get the URL right after that. I was like, okay, I guess I should grab that, you know?
Better snag that up
Yeah.
before he does.
Right.
Right. Love it. Well, Kak, thank you for your time, your energy, your expertise. We're super happy to have had this conversation today and have you a part of Local First as a partner. Thanks for all you do and for being on the show today.
You bet it. I loved it.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Well, we hope you listening were inspired today, hearing from a leader working to leave a legacy in Arizona through doing good business. We'd like to thank our sponsor, Phoenix Business RadioX, for hosting us and all of our legacy partners, including Kak. This is Thomas Barr from Local First Arizona, reminding you that if we want to build a better state, we need to connect deeply with the local businesses that make us proud to call this place our home.